Hey, welcome to another episode of Chasing Rings. How you doing tonight, fellas?
Doing great, doing great.
Good,
What's going on, brothers?
Not too much, not too much. Another muggy summer day up in the Northeast, but no complaints. No complaints at all. So let's hop right in. And y'all know we do what we do. Wait, what? All right, big dude, set us off.
All right. We are going to talk about a little bit about the college outlook and the players to watch. One player in history to note is a gentleman by the name of Duke Slater. Duke Slater is a graduate of Iowa, University of Iowa, and he was an All-American, two-time All-American. But did you know that he is African-American officially in professional football to be known as an offensive tackle?
Wait, what? No,
Wow.
I actually heard a cat, so definitely didn't know that.
He's an offensive tackle.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Gee, what do you have for us?
Okay, so in honor of our two segments today, college football and NFL rookies. So I asked the ChatGPT analytics department which colleges had the most rookies who made the greatest impacts in their rookie year between 1980 and 2020, and over the last 5 years, which have been 21 to 2025. So what did the analytics department say? So from 1980 to 2020, in rank order, OSU, USC, FSU, the U, and Bama. From 1980 to 2020, they had rookies that had the greatest impact in their rookie year. And Steph, or Big Dude, Penn State was number 9.
Okay.
Wait,
So then for 21 and 2025 is UGA, OSU, LSU, Bama, the fungus called Michigan, with Penn State moving up to number 7.
All right.
Wait, what?
Yep.
Nice. All right, my wait what? This is a weirdo wait what. So sticking with draft picks, so number 1 pick ties, we're calling this. Did you guys know that for 4 straight years, the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, the teams that they played on, they tied a game before they experienced winning a game?
What?
Say that again?
So the 4 years in a row, the number 1 draft pick, they tied a game before they experienced what it was like to win a game in the league.
Wow.
What?
4 years in a row?
4 years in a row, and Cleveland's twice. So go figure, right? Drum roll. 2017, Myles Garrett started 0-17-1 before they won a game. Following year, Cleveland has the number 1 draft pick again, so crossover. Baker Mayfield started 0-1-1 before he won. In 2019, Kyler Murray started 0-3-1 before they won. And then in 2020, Joe Burrow started 0-2-1 before they won.
Oh.
All right.
One of the strangest coincidences in NFL history.
That's
the wait what right there.
Like just a weird, like who even caught it? Who even caught something like that?
Yo, bro, these analytics people, man, be running all kinds of stats.
Yes,
those are those good internships.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh man. All right, so that'll do it for
Wait, what?
Let's jump into just a little bit of news today. We'll start off with the All-Star break for Major League Baseball, and they're actually, as we record, they are actually playing the All-Star game. The American League is leading 3-0 in the bottom of the second inning. But probably the most exciting thing that will come out of this break is the home run derby that took place on Monday night. Tuesday night, Monday night. And big dude, I know you called it because you were texting me about it, but I called it tonight pretty early. Walk us through. I know your guy Schwarber pretty much had it wrapped up. And then what happened, big dude? Talk to us.
Well, Schwarber had it wrapped up. In fact, it was kind of embarrassing because it got to where they had swings. You know, everything changed where they could just go by swings in no time. So Schwarber had gotten up to 11 home runs, and it looked ridiculous. Even Bryce Harper publicly in front of everybody declared it over. And I thought it was over too. I was like, well, Schwarber's going to walk away with $1 million. Well, our friend Jordan Walker was about to be eliminated, and Jordan Walker ended up staying in it, and it looked like he only had like 6 swings left, and he had to have a home run for him. And I think he got it just about on all of them other than one. And it looked like Schwarber was going to put him away. He was down to 1 swing, because when you're down to 1 swing, as long as you hit a home run, everything keeps going. He hit another home run. It kept going. And it was like, this next one's going to be out. He's going to pop it up. Then the next one goes and he's going to go. But he went all the way through and actually embarrassed everybody at Citizens Bank by stealing that home run derby with 1 swing. He was 1 swing 4 times in a row to win it, Jordan Walker from the Cardinals. So he was down to his last swing for 6 straight home runs to beat Schwarber for $1 million, the 24-year-old did.
That could have been tonight?
Bruh, I would be sick.
Yeah, I would too.
And for it to happen in Philly,
my contract, $1 million is $1 million.
Well, and for it to happen in Philly with a Phillies player basically on the verge of winning it, it must have been a really interesting atmosphere in the ballpark when that happened.
Those people couldn't have gotten out of there fast enough. It was almost like the Phillies lost to the Mets. That's how fast they got out of there, you know. And it was great to see Jordan's parents come on for an interview. But it was a historic night. Jordan Walker winning a home run derby with nothing else left, and I think it's been a good weekend. I don't know how this game is going to be, but I think they made the right switch by taking the timing out of the home run derby, that you can take your time and have a finite amount of swings with no time in between. That seemed to work.
Man, I haven't watched that thing in so long, I kind of forgot about it. But until you text me, I was not locked into it. I hadn't watched it in a long time. And that was one of the things that I still watch, but that ended a few years ago. But that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Second news item is the WNBA just continues to have issues in a variety of different areas. But this particular one has to do with the racism that continues to permeate the league in terms of fan-player interaction. A fan apparently made some racist remarks towards Vegas Aces guard Chelsea Gray the other night. Not get into the specifics of what the remarks were, but that fan ultimately ended up losing their job. And, that tends to happen when people post things on social media that they don't think about before they post, and when they do things that end up getting posted that they don't expect to get anywhere else. So I don't know, we were talking before we went on, I don't know what the league can do to prevent that. All you can do is take care of the issue when it happens. I mean, it happens in other sports as well. The NBA certainly has had its fair of issues as the male counterpart to the WNBA, but just another sad element just taint sports in general. But the WNBA definitely doesn't need it, because actually picking up some pretty good momentum right now, and for these things to continue to happen, really don't know how you can stop them. But on a more positive news note to end on, I guess, depending on if you're Spain or France, I suppose. First semifinal of the World Cup took place today, and I think most of us, based on how the World Cup has been going, expected France not to roll in this one, but to definitely be the victor. But Spain shut out France 2-0. This is Spain.
What?
Yeah.
Shutout in a row, or not?
Shut them down, man.
6 shutout of this World Cup. It was a dominant performance. It was an absolutely dominant performance. I mean, once Spain scored its first goal on a PK, I mean, France had a couple of opportunities, but it was just a dominant game. Spain's defense was excellent. They controlled the pitch. Been looking for an opportunity to use that term. They controlled the pitch throughout the match.
I like it. I like it.
Pitch match.
Pro football analyst now.
I'm going to start using that. I'm going to start using that in American football. But yeah, Spain controlled this thing for the most part. And certainly I would consider myself a novice soccer fan / viewer. But from my perspective, it's one of the first times that I actually saw an intentional game plan that I recognized. Like, I could tell that Spain was super prepared for France, especially on the defensive end. There was a big shot disparity. I don't know what the final stats ended up being, but at one point France only had 2 shots on goal compared to like maybe 6 or 7 for Spain. And that's pretty much how the game went. They got a few shots at it late, but really it should have ended 3-0. There was a questionable offsides at the end, but I'm never going to understand the soccer offside, so I kind of give up. But it was an offsides on the 3rd goal. But so Spain will advance to the finals to play the winner of Argentina-England tomorrow afternoon, which is going to be very, very interesting because those 2 countries hate each other when it comes to soccer. And this goes way, way back. So should be a fun Wednesday afternoon for soccer. And that will do it with our Around the Ring in news. Tonight, we are going to start to delve into our football talk a little bit more. I know we started our conference media days stuff the other night, and we'll continue that as each of the power conferences has their media days. But tonight, we want to start getting into the seasons and kind of talk about some of the things that we think are going to happen. So we're going to start tonight with our top players in both the college ranks, who we think are going to be breakout players, and then who we see to be as our impactful rookies. So we're going to start off with our breakout college football players, and we'll share our list. For those of you who are viewing this episode, you'll be able to see our list, and certainly for those just listening to it, we will go over each of our players. So this is in no particular order, similar to what we did. If you heard any of our draft prospect, we did a top 5 before. It wasn't in any particular order from 1 through 5. Similar here, we just came up with 5 impact players that we think are going to have breakout years at the collegiate level. It could be freshman through senior, transfer, doesn't matter. So, Big Dude, you always lead the way with this type of stuff, so we're going to defer to you again to set us off, man. So, again, these are who we are saying we think will be the breakout players in college football for this upcoming season. And so we'll start off with 5. And then we'll get into some honorable mentions, and then we'll go a little homer on you all at the end before we get into our NFL rookies. But Big Dude, set us off.
Okay. Well, Jeremiah Smith, I mean, as far as I know, I don't know if there's a better wide receiver in football and in college football. The young man just has a whole lot going on. He is it's very difficult to cover regardless of what type of team Ohio State has. And if Ohio State is able to run the ball as good as they've been running it, he's just going to be so dangerous. And you can put him at almost any of the wideout positions. He had a tremendous year last year. I think he might have had 1 drop last year. So I think that, when you start to take a look at where Ohio State is, this is the guy that can knock the cat off of the roof and off of the jar. He's just extra fast, has good hands, runs great routes, does Jeremiah Smith, and will help them compete again for the Big Ten and, of course, the college playoffs. Malachi Tony, tremendous year last year. I mean, Miami had a difficult loss But what was lost in that Indiana season is the season that Tony had. And to look at what he had, and I said, he had an extraordinary year. Extraordinary year, 109 receptions last year. That is just totally insane. 109 receptions, 10 touchdowns, 1,211 yards, and 1 drop, and 841 yards after the catch. So now they have Darian Mensah. Interesting to see now that Darian Mensah has gone to Miami, how that is going to happen, whether he'll not only remain his favorite target, but the offense they have. And I wanted to put him in there because they do have Mark Fletcher back, their running back, number 4. He's back. And he's just a so if they have the same year that they had last year with running the ball, and I think their defense and all, this is a guy that can put some games away, and I officially call him a game breaker and a person. So he can be possession or he can be a long threat. Trinidad Chambliss, I think we all know what happened with him. This is a guy that petitioned a whole lot. He's matured a whole lot. They got some other people I know in the transfer portal, and Chambliss got to stay that other year. Not only, I mean, first of all, Chambliss better do well this year after all that. He did well. They got an injunction. The injunction stayed. I think that at 23 years old, he is right to take over, I would say, the SEC as far as the stat line and all those other things. The question will be, is can the rest of the team get behind him in Ole Miss? We know what kind of season Ole Miss had, heartbreaking end. And I think that for him wanting to do it again, I think is important because many people would have taken their money and just gone. But I think Chambliss is going to make some noise again and take them deep into the playoffs again. I got to say his name right. Elijah Hardy, linebacker from Indiana. He was a guy that was an unheralded linebacker from last year. Still had a lot of tackles. His name was overshadowed by a whole lot of other people in Indiana. A lot of other people that came in at once. This is the guy that's solid. This is a guy that can play sideline to sideline. And really Indiana into another competitive year. Obviously, we'll have to see what the quarterback situation is for Indiana. But on defense, I think Indiana's defense is going to be solid again. Attacking style defense with a group of athletes that can also cover. And that's what this guy can do as well. I think he was third on the team in tackles last year. So Hardy is ready to make a difference. And of course, we do have from Penn State, this will be is definitely, he was not sure he was coming back after James Franklin left, but Tony Rojas is back, number 13, Rojas. Outstanding linebacker, another linebacker that is sideline to sideline, good in coverage, and can also rush the quarterback when called upon to rush the quarterback, and is the quarterback of the defense. So I'm looking for, with all the changes and Matt Campbell bringing in 23 players, new people on offense, new people on defense, that Rojas will be one of the people, along with people like Anthony Donko, their offensive tackle, that's going to lead the team into something great. But the defense, though, has lost a lot of people to transfers. Rojas has got to be, I would say, the dime piece of the defense to keep it going.
All right. Some solid selections there, big dude. What do you have for us, G? And G always throws in a wrinkle or two with these lists, so I'm interested to hear about his 5.
Well, I have nothing to disagree with what Big Dude just shared. This was really, really tough. And so for me, what probably a theme you'll see here is, in some ways, is next person up in excitement. It's probably what you're going to see with this. And my wrinkle, I would say, is probably Aeneas Williams. He's getting ready to come in. He's getting ready to take over those running back duties. Can he keep doing that at a very high level that Notre Dame has been known for? We'll see. But I think he'll actually be able to handle it. And I'm not a huge Notre Dame fan at all, so I'm being very objective for this. Andrew Marshall, wide receiver, Michigan. I'm sure that surprised some of y'all since, I'm a Buckeye. But here's the thing, true freshman, a dude, this guy can play that position. And as much as I'm not a Michigan fan, I'm like, look, Michigan, or him, particularly Andrew Marsh, he's going to really be a major weapon for that team. So I definitely look forward to seeing him play. Now, Sam Levitt, this is what I like about Sam Levitt. It's really him and Lane Kiffin together, which has me excited as a football fan. This is going to be fast, high scoring, and wild. I may actually watch every LSU game this season. I think it's just going to be fun football. Earl Little Jr., safety, Ohio State, real aggressive young man, great instincts for balls and tackles. We're still good at the safety position, and I think he's going to be another fun one to watch. That's if you really like defense and you like, folk, you like DBs who come up and hit people, then you're going to like him. Last one, Chris Henry again out of Ohio State. We have our wide receivers. We always will. I think he's going to have a really good year. Yes, Jeremiah Smith, I could have easily slid him in here, so I'm glad you got him, Steph. But we have another wide receiver that is really going to be beasting out. So I would not be surprised if they go, 1,000, and then the other one goes like 900 or something like that. So it's going to be a high-powered offense too, especially since Ryan Day is not going to be calling plays.
Right. Another set of great choices. We have two overlapping there, and that leads me to my first, who I believe will be a breakout player for this upcoming season, Sam Levitt. Unfortunately, G, I'm not as excited about him as you are because my boys have to deal with him within the SEC. So I'm not looking forward to that element of it, but it'll be fun to watch, I'm sure. So if a lot of you will remember, especially if you follow college football closely, don't forget that Sam Levitt was the Arizona State quarterback who led them almost to the upset of Texas in the CFP not too long ago. So he definitely can play. And I think G brought up a really important factor. The combo of him with Kiffin could be downright scary. I just think that Kiffin can take most quarterbacks, and if they have anything, he can make them next level. And I expect to see that with him. Not looking forward to it, but we'll deal with that when we deal with it. One thing to note with Levitt, however, he suffered a foot injury, a Liz Frank injury actually last year. So he didn't play the whole season. So he's going to be coming off of that injury. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly he can get up to speed. I haven't heard anything out of LSU spring practice saying that he wasn't ready to go. I haven't even really heard anything about it. So I expect him to be there. But I really expect him to emerge as one of the bigger stars of the year. And we were talking before we started about, kind of the lack of that star power moving into this season at the collegiate level. Like certain you have Jeremiah Smith and, Malachi and Trinidad, but it's not really deep in terms of superstars. I think Sam's got a chance to elevate himself and perhaps be on that list of names that gets invited to New York because he certainly has the right coach to lead him there. Next, I have Damon Wilson, edge rusher from Miami. Now, this guy, he was a 5-star recruit coming out of Florida. Interestingly, these Florida schools keep letting these guys get out of the state. It's not like it used to be back in the day. He started at Georgia before actually transferring to Mizzou. So he's on his third school, but he was all second team last season at Missouri. And I think he is ready to make some noise. I think this is probably a great move for him transfer-wise, certainly with the exodus of those Canes who were drafted in this past spring's draft. There's going to be room at the table for him, and I'm sure that it's probably one of the big reasons that he chose Miami. And he's moving into a defense that was a top defense in the country by the time the season ended. And all expectations is that they will be again. Remember, just one note, on the back end of that defense, you had a lot of really good freshmen. So now you team him, put him up there as an edge rusher combined with a great secondary that they have. This is going to be a great move for him. And I expect to hear his name high on some draft lists when we get to April. EJ Crowell. Now, this is my homer and my pick. I've heard nothing but great things from this kid since he was a junior in high school. One of the most decorated running backs in a while. It's been a while since Bama's gotten the top running back in the country. This dude's a 5-star in-state, 4,000 yards during his prep career. And already, in spring, he's making an impression. He runs with power. If you remember how I described how Jam Miller ran last year, very hesitant, not really hitting the gaps, running the play. This dude is physical. This is going to be the type of back that we're used to, north-south, but he's also got some speed on him. But he wants to punish you. He wants to make you feel him when he runs. So I really expect him to be that typical top recruit freshman that automatically shines as soon as they come to Bama. So looking for a lot from him. Cam Coleman is one of my favorite transfers of the offseason. Unfortunately, he was at Auburn, so he didn't get a whole lot of love. But think about this. Think about how bad Auburn's offense was before he decided to go to Texas. Think about how bad they were. He had 56 receptions, 708 yards, and 5 touchdowns on a bad Auburn team. Offense just was not good. They had the transfer quarterback from Oklahoma, Arnold, who, he's a college quarterback, but he's not going to lead you anywhere. So that tells you a little bit about him. He gives Texas a really dynamic target. And, certainly you have Manning there. That should help elevate Texas and should do a lot for Arch in the passing game. But Cam Coleman's another person I expect to see his name at the top of the wide receiver prospect list by the time it's said and done when we start looking at the draft. And then the last I have is a repeat, same as UG, Aeneas Williams. I just think it was just a matter of him waiting his turn. As we know, Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price both were drafted into the league. One thing I want to point out from this kid, he didn't play a lot, okay? But he had 24 carries, 5 touchdowns on 24 carries, and he averaged over 9 yards a carry.
And that's why I had him there.
That's a wait what?
Yeah, that's a wait what. So, obviously he's going to be the feature back. He's going to get the touches, and Notre Dame had a tremendous recruiting class. So Notre Dame's going to be a problem. I hate to say it. Notre Dame's going to probably be a problem this season, but I'll leave that there.
Yeah, I hate that.
Big dude, give us your sleepers and or your homers if you have any. Because you have your top 5. Who did not quite make your list of 5? And do you have any Penn State guys that you think maybe we should keep an eye on?
And I think I mentioned his name earlier. We'll start with Penn State, and I'll go to any other sleepers I might have. Anthony Donko, who's in his 3rd year starting. He was a tackle one year. He was a guard the next year. And now I think he's back to tackle again. 6'7", 315, very athletic, very technically sound. He did have a problem, but he's back. And like I said, and that's the guy that I can tell you for sure that probably could have transferred somewhere that I think in terms of me being a homer, that's one of the reasons I would go. I know y'all probably think it's strange, but that's who I would go to see play, somebody that stays for a second. Now, I looked at him. I looked at Rojas. To tell you the truth, it's hard to tell who some of the other people are. I don't know enough about the quarterback that we have from Iowa State. I've heard about him. I've seen him play. He wasn't going to quite make the top 5, but Anthony Donko is one person that I would say miss. And then it looks like for the LSU that you talk about what they have, the target for LSU, that the young man has, Sam Levitt, is the 6'7", 250-pound Trey Green, the tight end. I mean, you got a tight end that big. I think some good things are coming, especially if he's one of those people that can stretch the field. Almost in everything I saw, people can't wait to see that combination of those two. They didn't mention any other wideouts, but in looking at some other things that I was able to look at, Trey Green definitely is on his way to doing something, and we'll see what type of a blocker he is. But certainly he has the athleticism. Also for the University of Miami, University of Miami has, his name is Bruce Fitzgerald. I think he is a corner. And he's somebody, again, that nobody heard from last year. Now, we know how hard interceptions are to come by these days. And he's somebody that nobody mentioned last year that had 6 interceptions out of nowhere, 6 interceptions. And I think there was only like a 45% rate where they completed passes on him. So, and looking him up and being able to garner some of his different things, he didn't quite make it, and I wanted to put him in there. And then I did mention Fletcher as well, who I thought was a big part of Miami's year last year. When you have a running back, this guy's tall, smooth. He's like a real, I would say, a hardcore Eric Dickerson, where Eric Dickerson did the smooth running. This is the 6'3.5" guy that will run you over and administer some pain, but still get through the hole, because I think Miami, having a different quarterback, having some different tools out there, having a good defense, they lost, we know who they lost on defense. They lost Reuben Bain last year. They lost somebody like Keontae Scott, who ran a 4.3, that had 3-4 interceptions. So I would say Bruce Fitzgerald and Mark Fletcher were my outliers. And my homer is Anthony Donko, for sure.
I like that. I like that Mark Fletcher comparison to Dickerson in terms of running style. Fletcher does run upright. You don't see that very often, but that's a pretty decent comparison. Only style, people. Nobody compares to my boy, but only style.
That's right. That's right.
G, what do you have for your sleepers, and what do you have for your App State / Ohio State homers?
Yeah, I'm going to pick up where I left off with Charles Henry for my graduate school homer, which would be Ohio State. This dude is 6'5", and he can run routes, and he actually has vertical speed. So when it comes to the 50-50 ball, he's going to likely win the majority of the times. And so just him and Jeremiah Smith together with the quality OC next, I can't wait till the season starts. Now, Appalachian State, we have a new head coach, but we just brought in a Mike Anthony to be our offensive coordinator. He was at Purdue. He had multiple roles at TCU, when they had those top scoring numbers. You remember between 23 and 25? Well, he was there and a part of that. So now he's coming to App State. He's bringing Malachi Singleton as quarterback with him, who was also at Purdue, if I remember correctly, which is really, really good because we have a wide receiver there, Alex Sanchez. He did a really good job with the quarterback that we had last year, but he definitely was not utilized to the degree his talent shows. So with this new OC, with a new quarterback, hopefully we can actually give this young man, because he can run routes very, very well. He has decent speed. He has crazy good hands. He just need a quarterback that could actually get him the ball, not floating stuff and things like what's happening last season. This is one of these young men that if our offense runs the way we are hoping, based on who's been brought in, he may actually be hitting the transfer portal and going to a Power 4 next year. I mean, that's the type of ability he has. And remember the conversation we had earlier, some of these cats who may come from FCS or come from the G6 if they get in the right situation, show their flashes of goodness, and then they hit the portal, and we could lose him if he actually is used the way he is capable of playing. So that's my homer evaluation for App State, for my bachelor's homers, I should say.
All right. For me, in terms of my sleepers, can't believe I'm starting off with an Ohio State player, but I am. Like I said, enjoy it while it's hot, G, because when the season starts, you won't be getting a lot of love. I'm going with John Walker, a defensive tackle, 6'4", 325. He was one of the nation's top defensive tackles coming out of high school. And, it's wait your turn right on these teams a lot of times. And, Ohio State, again, they put a lot of players in the draft as they usually do. During his first season, he was a part of the rotation, a very good developmental piece. And it's his time now. It's simply what I think will happen. So he'll play a much larger role. And I expect him to become an all Big Ten performer. So keep your eye on him. John Walker, easy name to remember, defensive tackle. Okay. Another guy that had a sneaky good year last year, Jaden, and I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Mavaya, quarterback from USC, 6'4", 230. He's a kid from Nevada. He was productive. He's a UNLV transfer, and if you know anything about UNLV, their offense is always pretty good. They put up some points. They usually put up a lot of offense, but he transferred to USC and ended up being the starter. And if you followed USC for the past few years, they brought in all these quarterback hopefuls that end up transferring or fizzling out. They think they might have one with Jaden, but this is another nice coaching pairing. I'm not a Lincoln Riley fan, but I respect what he's done with quarterbacks. You're talking about Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. He just hasn't found the right guy, I think, at USC yet, and I think this might be good. But to me, he's one of the Big Ten's most intriguing quarterbacks. And it may come down to schedule. When you're talking about the Big Ten, a lot of times it's who can you avoid? And USC being one of those newer teams in the conference, depending on who they have to play, this might be a season where USC comes back onto the national scene. In terms of my homers, I'm going to go with Keelan Russell, quarterback, who was the number one recruit in the country last year. And we haven't even picked our starting quarterback yet, but I'm going to go out on a limb. Keelan should be the starter. I thought he should have been the guy last year. I'm not going to mention the previous quarterback's name this early in our season, but I felt like Keelan Russell should have been the starter. We may not have been as successful, but I think that had he played, I believe in playing these quarterbacks younger, and then we'd be ready now. So now this is going to be his first action as a sophomore. He's going to have to probably get, some kinks out, but this kid's supposed to be the truth. From everything I've heard out of spring practice, he looks the part. Now, certainly there's this battle with Austin Mack, who's an upperclassman, and I don't know what Carolyn DeBoer's philosophy is on that. I almost feel like he might start Mack, but I do think the job will end up being Keelan Russell's, just because he brings more dimension to the Alabama offense than we've had in a while. Probably not since why can't I remember my guy who plays for Seattle now? I don't know why I can't remember his name. But so one, and then Lotzier Brooks, the wide receiver. If you remember, he's the only wide receiver that had any heart in the playoffs at all. He's the South Jersey kid. So I think that he will have an opportunity to be their main guy. And they brought in a couple of younger guys as well. But I like Keelan Russell and Lotzier Brooks. In terms
I think he tried to put y'all on his shoulders, didn't he?
He certainly did, even though the shoulders were very limited and not maybe as sturdy as they typically have been. He certainly tried. He really did.
Millville kid, man.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that will do it for our college breakout players. Now let's get into our rookies. Who do we think are going to be the top rookies to watch in the upcoming season? This will be interesting. Big Dude, set us off again.
Well, I'm not sure if he's going to be wearing the green dot, but you gotta love Arvell Reese and the fact that the Giants went ahead and selected him and done some other things. This is a guy again that is that dude. He was that dude athletically. He has the instinct. We know what kind of player he was at Ohio State. We all know. From what I understand, he's working out well and well respected by his teammates. But I think that he's the difference maker. I think that the Giants have been missing. The Giants have had some good players. But nobody like Arvell Reese. And you wonder just how all those things are going to go. And then of course you got Sonny Styles. Coming out through from Washington. We realize again they always get to about the middle of the season and they kind of die off. Well, you need someone that's going to be able to save your job. If there's anybody that can save your job, it's Sonny Styles. There's another one that plays all over the field, can make defensive plays on the ground, strip some people, and is always a good fit for the defense. And from what I understand, obviously, not just well coached, but this is a guy that can fit in just about any system that you need. So Sonny Styles is another one that can be there for him in the fourth quarter. He's that type of player. And then, Spencer Fano from Utah, and going to Cleveland. We all know what's going on with Cleveland. A whole lot's going on. A whole lot of messages are going on. What's happening with Shador. They're going to have their offensive line together. I think they had a surprising retirement. I think Fano can play both positions. That's the greatest because you don't have that many offensive linemen in the NFL. So Fano is probably, a little light. He needs to get a little stronger, but he has the athleticism and he has the smarts to play guard or tackle. I think they probably need to line him up at left tackle right now and protect the blind side of everyone, because of his quickness. But is the same guy that can slide over and give them some flexibility. So Fano and and looking for an incredible, and that is what Cleveland is missing as well, a very serviceable player. And then Vega Ione, from Penn State that can play guard or center. It looks like he's going to be a guard. He's got a chance to start. And I think it's going to be important because he has the mentality that is not only just athletic, but he's also a guy that knows how to know when he's in the arena and to be mean, and not to back off any challenges. So Vega is a outstanding player with an outstanding attitude. And Baltimore is always one step away, and always one block from finishing their Rubik's Cube. So let's hope that he's the person that helps to finish that Rubik's Cube for them, at guard. And he is ready to play. And, of course, Fernando Mendoza, that we got to watch how he's handling all the things that have happened in Vegas, for them. You have to, he's mature. He's got all the tools. The question is he going to be fast enough for the NFL game? The college game was fast in a lot of ways. He played and if he thought playing the Hurricanes was fast, wait till he goes to all the people in the AFC West. The AFC West, that's going to be a big challenge for him with the Chiefs and the Chargers and all those folks over there. So I think Mendoza, though, is the one young quarterback I think that'll at least give them the stability I think that they were missing. He just has to keep from getting hurt. So I'm looking forward to Mendoza taking on the challenge. I feel pretty good about where he's at right now.
Yeah, I echo that. I am very curious to see what Mendoza does. I actually can't wait. I'll be looking for that Raiders first game. G, what about your rookies to watch?
Yeah, Arville Reese and Fernando, they were definitely on my list because, well, Arville Reese is just going to be fun to watch. So I was just like, okay, we know that. Fernando is just more of a curiosity. Can he make the switch or not? But, I still think of, guy played for Baltimore, went to University of Delaware. What's his name?
Joe Flacco?
Yeah, Flacco. I think he's going to come. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in like a Flacco almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be about right.
Yep. So wish him the best. But anyway, Jeremiah Love. Here's the reason why I can't wait to see him play. There have been quite a few bad teams when they got a high-powered running back. They were able to turn their teams around. Think about when the Cowboys got Emmitt Smith, or when Terrell Davis went to the Broncos. So, I mean, there are quite a few others, but I want to see if this is will this happen with Jeremiah Love in Arizona? That would be very, very interesting. Cornell Tate, this is me somewhat being a homer, but definitely I think him going to Tennessee. Tennessee kind of like being right there, and you can see the way their offseason went. They're really trying to go toward that offense. So that's just a curiosity to see if it's going to work. Sonny Styles, nothing to add from Big Dude. Spencer Fano. See, here's the thing I agree with Steph on one thing, and then I'm gonna add a piece. I definitely like his speed and his size at that left tackle. Yeah, I think he'd do guard, but I think he'd probably be most productive at the tackle. But I trust Big Dude more than I trust myself because of his experience as a lineman. So, but I like him in comparison with Concepcion being there. Because if he can hold his ground on the left side and give whomever his quarterback is time, Concepcion is going to actually carve up the defense. So that's kind of how I look at it. And so it's just going to be real interesting when you're plugging him into the system itself. And that's what makes that interesting for me. And then being a full-blown homer with Monroe Filling, I'm just really hoping that he can be that offensive tackle that we need so that we can keep our QB off the ground and actually give his light tail time to actually throw over his tall lineman. So that's mine.
Yeah, my guy Bryce that's tough at that size playing quarterback. But we'll continue to pray for him.
Yep.
Right, that's right.
So the guys I'm looking at, I'm coming right out of the gate with Mansour Delane. I think he's going to be instant impact for the Chiefs, unfortunately. But I like the amount of ball that he's played, 3 years at Vatech before going to LSU, having a really solid season, a challenging season for LSU, but having a challenging season playing on the outside in the SEC, I thought just helped him go to the next level. He already was a very good DB at Vatech. I just like his physicality coming into the league at that position. I think a lot of guys struggle at that position when they're undersized, or maybe they try to rely on their speed. And, you need to be physical at that position, especially with some of these bigger wide receivers in the league. You're going to have to be able to do something with that. So early minicamp reports say that he's super competitive. His instincts are there. Everything that we thought you get with him. And he's been getting on the veteran receivers, man. They said he's been up in their faces. So I like that moxie for a rookie.
Yeah.
Jadarian Price is my next, the running back out of Notre Dame. Again, the body of work, dude wasn't even a feature back. He had 11 touchdowns,
right?
6 a carry. This is his time now. And, I think he's going to show you that he probably could have went anywhere else in the country and probably ran for quite a few yards. And he would have been one of the top picks in the league. But physical runner, fast, everything you want to see in a running back. And I think G made a great point about, running backs in the league when he talked about Jeremiah Love. If you can find yourself a good, solid running back, it can change the entire fortunes of your franchise. And I think that Seattle certainly doesn't need to change its fortunes, but it's going to help them maintain, given what they lost in Kenneth Walker. And, that's going to solidify their backfield. And we don't know why I'm blanking on names tonight. The guy that got hurt for them, you guys know who I'm talking about, but I'm blanking on names, man. Old age, man. Great to get old, but the mind starts to go. But they'll have a two-headed monster, I think, similar to what they had before. I don't expect them to miss a beat. They're already talking about how great his vision has been in minicamp. His versatility as both a runner and pass receiver. They were saying that he hadn't proven himself in college catching passes out of the backfield, and that was the one thing they were worried about. Well, he's put those worries to bed, so far in training camp. And my guy, man, this is my homer moment right here, Skylar Bell. Man, I can't say enough about him. He's killing in camp. They're saying that he could be outright scary, that he's just what Josh needs. Now he's got a dependable wide receiver, a little bit undersized for my liking, but, he's 6 feet, 185, but he plays bigger than that. He can catch anywhere you need. He can go deep. He can go across the middle, slot, whatever you need. He was an All-American. And something I wanted to point out, coming from a program like UConn, he led the FBS with 7 100-yard receiving games last year. Now, I would have thought somebody like maybe Jeremiah Smith but Ohio State was probably pounding people. Jeremiah was over there eating a hot dog by the beginning of the third quarter. So. But it's just very impressive. And he did play in the Big Ten. Remember, he started at Wisconsin, which made me feel a little bit better about him.
That's why that name sounds so familiar.
Yeah, so coming from a Mid-American, I was a little concerned, but he has proven to be the real deal. They love his football IQ, his professionalism. He just goes to work. He's just picking up the offense, and he's positioned himself to be a contributor really early. So I'm excited about that, certainly as a Bills fan. Another freaking Ohio State guy here, Caden McDonald, defensive tackle. You guys know during the draft that I was getting mad when we didn't draft him. I was getting more mad as we would draft and trade and all of that, because I really wanted him, because we really need somebody to help stop the run. And it's the rich get richer here, right? The Houston Texans pick him up. It's just going to solidify the middle of that offense. I know they had a couple of losses, but this dude's going to fill right in. All-American. I mean, what do you say about him? He's a big body. He's going to do his thing. They've been really impressed with his strength and his conditioning and his ability to kind of hold up well against the veteran offensive lineman that he's gone up against so far. So I think he's going to be as advertised. I didn't want to put Ruben Bain on here because I really didn't want to go with the will, of course. But I don't think that a lot of people think that he's a guaranteed impact rookie. And, the three of us certainly didn't see it that way, no matter what they tried to do with his character and his draft stock. I think that this dude is so pissed off that it's just going to be a wrecking machine out there. So far in camp, the reviews, his first step quickness, he's got advanced pass rushing techniques, which you rarely see from a rookie. They expect that he's going to be an immediate contributor. And he kind of reminds me, fellas, of when they had the defense with Brooks and Sapp and Simeon Rice and all those guys. I think a couple more pieces around him, and you're going to be looking at a vicious
that was defense.
Scary, man. You just didn't stand a chance against them. Just a scary defense. All right. Back to you, big dude. Do you have any sleepers? And I am shocked that you didn't put an Eagle in this thing, because I almost put my guy Malachi Lemon in there, but I had too many people that I wanted.
You know what? I'm surprised you didn't put in there.
Who, me?
What was the young man from was it Kent State?
Yeah, he ain't ready yet. He ain't quite ready yet. He'll get there, but I got a few guys ahead of him as a medium.
Are you talking about McNeil Warren?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought Guru was gonna put in there.
I knew you guys would be surprised. I knew you'd be surprised that I didn't have him in there. He didn't even cross my mind actually in doing this.
Okay.
Yeah, there's this. It was very hard for me to be, because I haven't seen it. See, I would say if Mekhi Lemon hadn't have gotten hurt and him being out and all, to me, he's just still. That's what makes him an outlier because I haven't seen him come back from it. I would feel better if it was. They say he's supposed to be ready for camp and all that, but we'll see. He was doing good up until he was out, and other than that, I mean, the Eagles got some good folks. I mean, other than that, there are really not too many other people that are necessarily ready. There's some other folks. I think there are some other secondary people that are doing okay, but for them to break that list was a lot more. And to be honest with you, I've been focusing on the depth on the offensive line on the Eagles. So basically, Markel Bell, where we want to get him better just in case Lane Johnson gets hurt. We want him to be ready to go. He was an outlier. And, of course, Jeremiah Love, I guess the theme of what I picked here are different people that are going to be able to turn the franchise around. And Jeremiah Love certainly can do that. But I think I was a little bit more intrigued by some of those other people that seem to be a little bit closer than Arizona. That's why I went with, Reese and Styles and what they're going to mean to those defenses. And Love is obviously going to be the new toy that nobody else has on offense. But, Arizona is going to need more. Will he be able to show all those other things as the new toy?
But did you have any sleepers though, Steph? A big dude, excuse me?
Not a whole lot. There was, who was it? There was
if not, that's fine.
Yeah. No, I you know what? It was Nick Singleton is what I was looking at as well. I understand Nick Singleton is having a good camp as well. But I don't know. It was hard to just measure in that time period who's more ready to go. I think Singleton is more pro ready than people believe, and can go to. I think he's at Houston. Is it? He can go there.
I was just going to ask you where did he end up again? I don't even remember.
I think he's at Houston. Let me see.
Who are you talking about?
Great pickup,
Nick Singleton.
I don't even remember. That's sad.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Oh man, it's a lot of names fly at you. So
yeah, but Nick Singleton would have been the only other one that is a
Tennessee.
Yeah,
Great.
Tennessee.
I tell you what, that's now that I think about it.
Tennessee.
Yeah, I hate that I missed that one because he's got a great opportunity to be the lead back out there.
Yeah. And I think he's ready, and this is a guy that, he's 22 years old. He can run, he can catch, he can throw, and he's ready. He's ready to go, and he's done well in the OTAs. So I do know that, and he seems to like what they have going on with him, So, and he's a guy that I think you could give him the ball 17 times a game. He's that type of back. As the game gets better, he gets tougher. So I would say if you just look at his stat line, I don't think his stat line is going to be anything to brag about necessarily, but it's going to be the quality of that game in the third and the fourth quarter. Will he be able to contribute or help put the game away for Tennessee?
All right, G, what do you have for your sleepers, and do you have any Carolina-specific guys?
Well, yeah, Monroe Freeling was my Carolina-specific guy. Y'all know I was pushing for him the whole time, at least for Carolina. But oddly enough, who would have been there if I wasn't being a homer is Kenyon Sadiq, which I'm surprised neither one of you picked him.
I thought about him, but I was like, to me, he's such a sure shot. For me, it was too obvious to me. So I didn't put anybody that I thought was a sure shot.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. He's a sure shot. I don't know if his quarterback is going to be a sure shot.
Yeah, that's what I was.
You know what? They got a thing called the bench, G. What the one quarterback can't do, another one will.
And here's what I'm thinking with that. Regardless of the quarterback, he's going to probably be their first outlet. So I wouldn't be surprised that, I'm going to try to get him on my fantasy football team because I think he's going to get the ball quite often because he's going to be an outlet. So that's it.
No, I was just trying to see who your backup was. It looks like it's Kenny Pickett, which wouldn't be bad. He's a veteran and he's serviceable if your boy goes down.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I have Dylan Thieneman first, and I didn't really want to put him as a sleeper.
Oh, yeah.
I just think that, we were limited to our 5 here. We certainly could have gone 10 deep after this draft. But I like Dylan Thieneman as a potential sleeper. We all raved about him when we were doing our draft preview. There's not much to say there. Chicago, I think it's a perfect fit. Chicago did lose a few DBs, I believe, including a safety. He should be able to fit right in. Already some of the things they're saying about him, his leadership, communication, things that we talked about. And his football IQ has been off the meter in minicamp so far. And they think that he's definitely going to be competing for a starter role. I'll go on a limb and say he will end up being the starter at safety for them. Caleb Downs was another one. I'm like, of course, he's a no-brainer, but I felt like we couldn't totally leave the conversation and not say something about him. He's a sure shot. His football IQ, communication, he's already adapted to the speed of the game, they said. This is going to be a headache for you, big dude, obviously, with him having to see him twice a year, but nothing unexpected there. In terms of my boys, I really like what they did on defense, man. I talked about Skylar Bell as one of my 5, but I like Igbinosun out of Ohio State. They said he's being a killer right now. They're saying he's going to take somebody's spot.
See, and we talked about that. That was a big highlight we had. That was one of my highlights. I remember that.
Yeah, they're saying that he fits perfectly with Leonard's scheme and that he might end up being the steal of the draft, which we need something. You're going to love this, big dude. I think Zane Durant is going to be a contributor. I think we're going to play a lot of players on defense.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of guys rotating in and out. Jim Leonard likes that type of defense. And I think Zane Durant will get snaps. And I really like the Jason Kilgore kid from South Carolina, the safety. Haven't heard a lot about his camp yet, but he offers a lot of flexibility. And right now, one of the big things in Bill's camp is that defensive backfield. I think it's going to be a lot of guys platooning in and out. So, whoever steps up and certainly make plays in key situations, that's going to probably be the difference on who ends up solidifying themselves and getting more reps. But, if I had to pick some guys from our rookie class, I would say those guys, and that we did a pretty good job draft-wise. At the end of the day, after they make me wait 2 days to draft any damn body.
Right.
But anything else to add? Anybody come to mind after the fact? Or
well, not necessarily a rookie to watch for the reasons that we're talking about, but Ty Simpson.
You're just doing that to mess with me. That's all that is.
Pretty much. Pretty much. I do want to. I don't wish any ill on the young man, but he shouldn't have gone that high. I'm sorry.
I just hope that he's got a nice pair of those gloves those quarterbacks wear, that he can still feel the clipboard while he's holding it, because it gets cold in Pittsburgh. Oh man!
Yeah, and of course, of course, I thought later, Maxie Honachur. It'll be interesting to see if he breaks in with the Steelers.
Another Steeler guy. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't begrudge Simpson. I'm glad he's gone. Best of luck to him. I'll be rooting for him, man. He's Bama, man. I might not have been happy with his tenure, but I want him to be successful so we can move up the list of impact people in the league one day.
Yeah.
But I do believe my Panthers with Chris Brazil, I do believe if we can keep our quarterback upright long enough, that his tall lankiness is going to be a godsend to the Panthers.
Yeah, I like what you guys are doing. And your division is certainly a winnable one. We know that. So there's always
And you
that
kind
hope.
of say that with a chuckle. What's up with that?
Well, because we know. It's the 800 division, man. You only got to win 8 or 9 games. Shit, me and Big Dude, we got to win 14 or 15 games to win the division, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's kind of bad.
It is. All right. Well, thanks for joining us again, everyone, on another episode of Chasing Rings. And this is certainly an indication, this episode, of what the type of fun we are going to have covering the entire football season, because remember, we didn't jump off till December. So until next time, continue to subscribe, like, follow, and see ya.